We are live coming at the end of our Power of the BI 16-week course for the week. At the end of each week, we do answer questions from our students, both Power BI and some personal questions. You know, sometimes you just want to know what's going on in the life of the Power BI guys. So we are going to answer some questions. We wanted to bring this in as a live session so that you would be able to hear some of the questions that our students may have, because you may have some of the same questions. But we are going to get right into this, and I keep saying we because I'm referring to my comrade Kiki. Kiki will be reading the questions, telling us tell us who the question is coming from, a little bit about the person, and then giving us the question. Then I will be answering the questions live right here on Power of the BI. So Kiki, if you're ready, let's get started. Let's take on the initial question.
That was Taylor Nguyen, who asked, what was the biggest challenge in getting others to trust you as a leader when you were just starting out?
Okay, gaining trust. So question is, you know, how do I gain the trust of the individuals how did I gain the trust of individuals when I first got started? So here's the deal. Gaining trust was it wasn't difficult. It was basically it was mentally difficult. It wasn't difficult for me, but it was mentally difficult for me to wrap my head around that I was really ready to jump out into the Power BI world and present myself as a data specialist, not necessarily as a data scientist, but as a data specialist. And at the end of the day, once I realized that the knowledge that I had, that I learned from the course that I took, that, hey, I'm just as good or even better than some of the guys that are in the game right now. What do they call it? I forgot what they call it, where it seems as if, you know, you are you're not good enough. You're not that person. And I kind of was that person. That kind of was me. But the advantage for myself was that the first project that I received the first project that I was on was a construction project, not on-site construction, but it was a Power BI project where I was building out a construction Power BI report. And the reason why I say advantage me is because I have a background in construction, right? Of course, my collegiate background and my initial work experience was in construction. So the Power BI report, I had some idea of the jargon that the guys in the industry use. I had some idea of some of the things that may need to be seen, so I could pretty much ask myself, you know, if I was to read the story of what was going on the project, or read the story of what was going on within the construction company, what would be the words, what would be the story that I would be reading? And the story that I would be reading, that's the story that I created. I created the story that I believe that I would be reading if I was actually on the project. So that's why, you know, it's a tremendous advantage for those of you that when you go out there and you start your first Power BI project, or you're looking for a Power BI job to get started in, to find a job within the industry that you're already familiar with, whether you're already in it or you've been familiar with it over a period of time, then you would be able to take your prior knowledge of that industry and then get an idea in your head as to what is the story that you would be reading, or that you would like to read if you were trying to build that business or build that department or build even that industry. But at the end of the day, what you would be doing is you would be creating the story that you would envision yourself reading, if that makes sense to you. So what I'm saying is, when you go out and you solicit that first Power BI job, and the industries that I would go after would be the industry that you are most knowledgeable of at the time. And here's the deal. You don't have to stay in the industry, but the advantage is that it's kind of like when you take a test, right? If you already know the answers, you know what you're looking for. If you know the answers, you know what you're looking for. And once you understand what you're looking for when it comes to Power BI, it's going to go across industries. It's going to go across industries. Basically, you're going to be able to say, hey, within this Excel, not Excel, but within this column chart, this is what I would normally look for in a column chart within my specific industry. So in this next industry that you're looking at a job in, you're able to identify, hey, I'm looking for these types of data points to go inside of a column chart or a pie chart. By using the experience of the industry that you're already in, that's what gives you the confidence to be able to go out and transition, pivot into other industries when it comes to Power BI reports. Power BI projects. Now, advantage being in Power of the BI, the advantage of being in Power of the BI is the first thing not the first thing, but when you build out your Power BI portfolio, which is going to be one, two, or three projects within your Power BI portfolio, we are going to build those projects within your specific industry. Right? We're going to build that within what you already know. So you already know what that story is supposed to say. So when you recreate that story, you already know that story is true. Right? So then when you start interviewing for these other jobs, once you finish this course in Power of the BI, then you don't necessarily have to get a job within your specific industry in order to learn how to build those reports, because your whole portfolio is going to be built within the industry that you're already in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Power of the BI Live is going to be huge. May 1st and 2nd in Dallas. We're talking hands-on sessions, live problem solving, and career guidance. Now, with that excitement in mind, let's hear what our next student is curious about.
So as Kiki has said, yes, we are having we're having a live Power BI session in Dallas, Texas, May 1st and 2nd, just to give you a little bit more insight on that. So Power of the BI Live is going to be a 2-day event, May 1st and May 2nd. It's 2 days, 8 hours a day of nothing but Power BI, another 8 hours a day of nothing but Power BI. And at the end of each day, we're having a great social session, a social gathering. For those that already know about the social gatherings, that's great, but I'm not going to go into all of that right now. But we are having a social event at the end of May 1st and a social event at the end of the day on May 2nd to celebrate a long, hard day of learning nothing but Power BI. But if you're interested in Power BI Live, all you have to, and basically Power of the BI Live is a live session. It's going to be at the Omni Hotel, downtown Dallas. You need to make your reservations, 1, for the Omni Hotel, and 2, you need to go to Power of the BI, powerofthebi.com, go to courses at the top of the page, and then select the course Power of the BI Live. And basically it's going to be a live session where I'll be teaching myself and bringing in some of my friends, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Now, so Kiki, what is the next? So Kiki, who is the next person up?
All right. Next, we have Emily Wright, 25 years old, currently a barista in Portland, Oregon. Emily asks, "What's the most important Power BI skill I should highlight when I'm interviewing for entry-level jobs?"
So as a barista in the Oregon area, I would have to believe that the company that you work for is probably the major barista chain in the U.S., if not in the world. And what I would say is, just as I said before, being a barista and being within that company, you have a level of experience and a level of knowledge that you really don't understand what you have when it comes to being able to contribute to the Power BI and the data and the data industry, right? Because you're seeing the data every day. You're hearing the data every day. You're participating in the data every day. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. So you are a barista in this major chain. I'm believing that you're not calling out the name of the company, and I'm not going to call out the name of the company as well. But I'm believing that since you're saying barista and you're saying in the Oregon area, that you're probably a part of this major barista chain, right? And when I say you're seeing the data, you're a part of the data every day, here's the deal. When someone comes into your store, there's a count of how many people come into the store every day. Now, some people come into the store and they don't buy anything. They just come in to use the internet. How many people are coming in just to use the internet, right? How many people are coming in and using the internet? How many people are coming in and they're buying certain drinks at certain times of the day? For instance, if you may have a slew of people that come in every day between 7 and 9 o'clock or 8 and 10:30 that buy a certain drink, between 10:30 and 12:30 that buys a certain drink, between 12:30 and 2:30 that buys a certain drink, between 2:30 and 4:30 that buys a certain drink. And the reason why the different drinks may change throughout the day is during different times is because during the morning time, there's a coffee, right? There's a coffee that they're trying to get. During the middle of the day, they're probably coming in during the lunchtime and they're probably getting, some type of tea or some type of pink drink or red drink or orange drink, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, could be the same thing, but these may be more students that are coming out of high schools or middle schools that are coming in and saying, hey, we want some type of macchiato or something like that. So at the end, where I'm going with that is that the data is how many people are buying different types of drinks, in addition to how many people are buying different types of sandwiches of the deli or different types of desserts, right? And what different types of combinations are they buying? Are they buying certain drinks along with certain coffee cakes or certain drinks with certain pound cakes? I mean, so basically there is a record of all of this information that's being kept and is within the data. Now you're saying, well, I'm a barista, I don't make those counts. You're right, because it's being kept digitally. When they come in and they buy those cards and they buy those store cards and they swipe their cards, the card is saying who bought it and it's saying what they bought, because it's giving those within corporate or those within the regional offices, the information that they need that's coming across their computers that's saying, hey, we need to have X amount of ingredients at store 125 and X amount of ingredients at store 237. Store 237 may not sell a lot of certain coffees, but store 125 may not sell anything but those particular types of coffees. But that data is captured when the card is swept, when someone uses their credit card. When someone uses their credit card, that information that's coming through is telling them, hey, it's giving the name of the person, but the name of the person really don't matter because they're being identified by an identification number. Of course, you already know that, but what it's telling them is, hey, they're buying this information. I mean, they're buying this particular product and they're coming from this particular zip code. They're buying this product and they're coming from this particular city. They're buying this product and they're coming in at certain times of the day. It could be between 8:30 and 10:30. There could be that could be 60% of the sales that are made throughout the day, and then throughout the rest of the day, it could be divided up for certain times. Whatever the case may be, but what I'm saying is that gives you some idea. Yeah, you're going through and you're making the drinks and you're making the sales, but what you're really doing is you're participating in the process of gathering that data. And basically, when you see that data on a computer screen, you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me, because yeah, we sell a lot here and we sell a lot here and we don't sell a lot of this right here. So where I'm going with that is, now you're reading the story, you're understanding the story. So now, given that you have that information, you can recreate that story. Within your Power BI report. That's why it's important when we build your initial Power BI your portfolio with those 1, 2, or 3 projects, that you use the industry from which you come from so that you can understand what the story is you're trying to tell. Make sense?
That's a great breakdown. Now, Emily's follow-up is, what inspired you, T, to stick with Power BI long enough to build an entire brand around it?
So why did I create Power of the BI, for the lack of any better term? So here's the deal. In a previous life, I was a teacher, taught 5th and 6th grade math, right? and really like teaching 5th and 6th grade math. I mean, believe it or not, it's a lot of fun. But what I really learned was the organization and the structure of creating lesson plans, right? And as Power BI was coming into play, and as I was really understanding Power BI and understanding where Power BI was going, and really putting together mentally what I believe the big picture was for Microsoft for Power BI, is that they want Power BI to be the data analytics tool, the report visualization tool of choice, right? And with that, I'm like, hey, well, if that's the case, let me be a part of this. Let me teach this. Let me be a teacher of this, and use my skills as a teacher to create a plan, a lesson plan, a course to deliver this to the general public. So basically, that's what I'm doing. I am doing something that I like to do, which is talk about Power BI, which is create Power BI reports and share the information with other individuals so that they could be able to go out there and get some of these Power BI jobs. And they're not just any Power BI jobs. They're not just any jobs. They're Power BI jobs, which are 6-figure jobs, right? I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a plumber. Of course, mechanics make a lot of money, plumbers make a lot of money, but I can do Power BI, and Power BI can make a lot of money. So my contribution back to society for where I can help individuals do and better themselves, better their lives, and have a greater source of income is to teach them a skill set, which is the new technology of Power BI. I tell people all the time, Power BI is a technology that's been slept on for the past few years, but now the world is waking up, and there are thousands of Power BI jobs that are out there, and with thousands of Power BI jobs that are available, and not enough Power BI developers that are there. So my goal is to help as many as I can. I can't really put it, I don't like you just can't, but I don't really want to put a number on how many Power BI developers I'm going to help put out there. I don't want to say 10 or 15. I don't want to say 1,000 or a million. I just want to say help as many Power BI developers as I can attain the skills of being not just good, but great Power BI developers in a fast amount of time, so they can jump right into the industry 4 to 6 months and go out there and get some of those 6-figure opportunities.
All right, our next student is Jason Hall, 40 years old, currently a construction supervisor in Phoenix, Arizona. Jason asks, when I'm applying to more corporate data roles, what's one key mindset shift I need to make coming from a hands-on field?
Yeah. So my background is in construction, so I totally understand where you're coming from. My undergraduate background, I have a degree in construction management, and I worked in construction for a period of time, had construction companies, small scale. Long story short, I totally understand what you're saying when it comes to the construction industry. Now, as a supervisor or as a superintendent, what I want you to understand is that you're not just a superintendent. Again, every industry, every company, every department, every job title has a need for Power BI. And by you being a superintendent, again, it's about you understanding the story of construction, right? It's about you understanding the story of your profession. And basically, as a superintendent, you are, communicating with subcontractors every day. You're looking at schedules, project schedules every day. You're looking at project estimates every day. You're making sure that the schedule of the project is on time. You're making sure that the estimate is within budget. If you got an idea that is going beyond the budget, you're ringing the alarm. If you got an idea if it's staying under the budget, you're looking at a situation where you probably got a hefty bonus coming your way. But this is all data. This is all data. The schedule, the contract, the estimates, the schedules, everything is data. And what you've got to understand is that, of course, in construction now, it's really all like that. When you look at the different construction tools you're using, not necessarily the on-site tools, but the digital tools, the software that you're using, all of the software now is capturing the data. All of the software is capturing the data. And there are even construction related data apps that are being used to capture the data. And then you're able to bring that data back into the database, and then you're able to create those stories, the Power BI stories that you're creating for your reports. So what I'm saying is, you understanding what the story that you're trying to read. When I say the stories you're trying to read, what is the visual telling you that you're trying? What is the visual telling you that's going on the project? What is the high? What is the low? What should you be worried about? What should you be excited about? These are the stories, and then these are the stories that you want to recreate inside of your Power BI portfolio. So again, you're going to be creating 1, 2, or 3 projects, and those projects are going to be within your portfolio, and those projects are going to be construction related projects. For those that are out there that are in other industries, you're going to be creating your portfolio using information and data from your specific industry, so that you can understand how to create a Power BI report from stories that you're already reading. So then you can recreate those stories, recreate them, and then be able to create a portfolio, so then you can show that you have experience with creating Power BI reports. So, I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but, at the end of the day, every industry, every company, every department, every job title has a need for Power BI. And the reason why I say that is because in every industry, every company, every department, every job title, there is some data that's being captured. There's some story that you're reading every day within your current profession. And what we want to do is we want to be able to take that data that you're getting, those stories that you're reading, and we want you to be able to create those stories, as opposed to having to just read those stories. And when you can recreate those stories in your profession, you're going to be able to recreate those stories in other industries, other companies, and other departments.
That's a strong analogy. Now, Jason's follow-up is, what gave you the courage, T, to step out of your original field and take that first leap into data?
So what gave me the courage to jump out there and start something different? Get a little feedback. What gave me the courage to jump out there and to pivot into data, into tech? And I'll be totally honest with you, I needed the money, right? I love what I was doing, but I needed the money, right? And I didn't need a little bit of money. I needed about $50,000, right? And I didn't need $50,000 one time. I needed $50,000 consistent, right? So basically what I'm saying is I needed a $50,000 raise. And from the things that I studied, from the things that I was tracking, from what I was understanding, was that Power BI was going to be able to give me that $50,000 raise. So I went out there, I learned Power BI, and I said, hey, I can do this. And basically at the end of the day, there it was. That $50,000 raise. I mean, it's not make-believe, it's not spooky. I mean, it's real. I mean, just there's some professions that pay X amount of dollars, some professions pay X amount of dollars, and some professions pay X amount of dollars, and some professions pay X amount of dollars. At the end of the day, I needed $50,000. I needed a $50,000 raise. And the good thing about Power BI is not just that one-time $50,000 raise. It's not just a 3% cost of living that you get typically on the job every year. Here's the deal. There's some Power BI jobs that you can get, and there's some they come along with a 6-month bonus or an annual bonus. Numbers kind of change and fluctuate a little bit. That's in addition to that initial 6 figures. In addition to that, you may say, hey, I want to give myself a greater raise. And giving yourself a greater raise means I'm going to go to another company, and you may get a $20,000. You may give yourself a $20,000 increase, a $50,000 increase. I even heard of people, I heard of some of my friends getting over a $100,000 increase. I mean, so you can go from 100,000 to 150,000 to 200,000. And there are guys that are out in the data game that are making $350,000, $400,000 a year. So, with that said, depends on, you get out of it what you put into it. So I'm not going to tell you that, everybody is going to get that 350, 400,000. I'm not going to tell you that everybody's going to get that 150. But I am going to tell you is that if you come out of Power of the BI, you're qualified for 110, right? I don't normally, the 100 is the bare minimum that I suggest you go for, but 110, 105, 110 is where I think you should be. 120 you could probably get, but I don't necessarily suggest that starting out. I think you should be about 3 to 6 months in before you jump into the $120,000 mark. But at the end of the day, what I'm gonna tell you is that there is a significant amount of opportunity for you when it comes to Power BI.
Here we go. Our final student is Daniel Rivera, 29 years old, a personal trainer in Austin, Texas. Daniel asks, when I'm just starting out, what's the best way to practice storytelling with data so I can stand out in interviews?
Let's see. So, best way to storytell. The best way to storytell in Power BI is simply understanding the story, understanding the story you're trying to tell. And in order to understand the story you're trying to tell, you first have to know you know what the story should be. Again, that comes to understanding your specific industry. I keep throwing that out there because it's very, very important that you're able to create a portfolio that you can walk someone through, that you can show someone that you know what you're talking about. If you're in telecommunications, well, let's say this, if you're in retail, you probably understand different products. You understand the number of people coming through a store, the number of people that's in a line, the number of the types of products that are being sold. So you can probably walk somebody, basically you're walking someone through a resume. And then in this resume, your resume is the story you're telling, but now rather than having words on the resume, you're having pictures on the resume. You can walk someone through a resume as long as you understand what's on the resume. If you don't understand what's on the resume, you get someone the resume and they ask you a question, you won't know what they're talking about. Same thing with Power BI. So if you're in retail, the best thing to do first is to build a story, tell your story within retail. And then once you understand how to tell your story in retail, it's going to be real simple to be able to tell that same story in telecom. It's going to be real simple to tell that story in construction. It's going to be real simple to tell that story in pretty much any other industry. But the first thing you need to do is understand how to tell the story. And the best way to know how to tell the story is tell the story that you already know. So, when you ask, what's the best way to storytell? What's the easiest way? I'm gonna say easiest, but what's the best way to storytell? Tell the story that you already know. And once you're able to tell the story you already know, you can recreate that story pretty much in any other industry. Okay. With that said, we're about to wrap this thing up. But what I wanted to piggyback on is something that came up earlier, and that is Power of the BI Live that's coming up in Dallas on May 1st and 2nd. So Power of the BI Live is going to be a full 8 hours on May 1st. It's going to be a full 8 hours on May 2nd. At the end of the day on May 1st, we're going to have a nice social event. At the end of the day on May 2nd, we're going to have a nice social event. For those of you guys, for your students, for the students out there that are still with us, Power of the BI Live is going to be free for you guys, but you have to go over to the Power of the BI portal and send me a message to let me know that you're coming, because it is going to be a limited amount of space. I know that many of you guys are in different parts of the country, and some of you guys are even in other countries. But whoever is in Power of the BI and you're intending to come, you can come and you can come for free. But I do need you to let me know that you're coming. So go to the portal and then let me know that you're going to be coming. For those of you that are not a part of the Power of the BI course right now, you can participate in Power of the BI Live as well. I highly recommend it. If you're interested in learning Power BI, basically, I will be teaching the 16-week course in 2 days on the 1st and the 2nd. And I'll also be providing you with access to the actual course for 6 months, so that you will be able to complete the 2-day course and complete the 16-week course. You'll have 6 months to complete the 16-week course, and there's no additional cost to you for that. just the cost of the course itself. I believe the early bird is still going on. I'm not totally sure, but I think the early bird is still going on. But the way you get to it is go to my website, powerofthebi.com. Go over to my website, powerofthebi.com, go up to courses, and then select the course, Power of the BI Live Dallas, and it is May 1st and 2nd. Now, here's the deal. For the students and for you that are interested in participating in Power of the BI Live Dallas, what you have to do, you've got to reserve your room. You got to make a reservation at the Omni Dallas. I think there are a couple of different Omnis in Dallas. The one we're going to be at is the Omni downtown. There is going to be the international soccer deal, FIFA, is going to be going on in Dallas sometime around there as well. So you do need to go in and make your reservations now, because it's going to get pretty crowded here in a little bit. So go ahead and make your reservations at the Omni Hotel downtown Dallas. In addition to, go ahead and sign up for Power of the BI Live in Dallas, where I personally will be teaching the course for 2 days, May 1st and 2nd, and I will be bringing in some of my Power BI friends. So again, go to my website, powerofthebi.com, go up to courses, and then select the course, Power of the BI Live Dallas. With that said, I am going to sign out of here, and I'm going to say thank you for joining in. For the students, I will see you again in the next class.